Welcome, everyone. Today, let me take you to southern Italy, near Naples, to a small, picturesque town at the foot of Mount Vesuvius called Somma Vesuviana. Here lived Carmela Rea, known to everyone as Melania. She was born on the 10th of August 1982 into a loving family with traditional values. Her parents, Gennaro and Viorica, were known as hard-working and devoted to their children. Melania had an older brother, Michel, with whom she shared a very close bond. Melania's father and brother both worked for the Italian Armed Forces, specifically in the Italian Air Force, while her mother took care of the household. Their family was very tight-knit. Melania was known for her cheerful disposition, energy, and empathy. She was a highly social person who easily connected with others and had a natural ability to bring people together. Her friends affectionately called her the sunshine of their group because she was always smiling and radiating positivity. Family played a central role in Melania's life, and she often expressed a desire to one day create a family as close-knit and loving as the one in which she was raised. After completing secondary school, Melania pursued her dreams while cherishing the values instilled in her during her upbringing. Melania was at a crossroads in her life, contemplating her future career path. However, living in her small hometown of Somma Vesuviana limited her opportunities, and she felt she needed to make some significant decisions about her future. On the one hand, she dreamed of attending university to study Spanish, a language she adored. On the other hand, she deeply longed to start a family. It was 2007 during the summer holidays when Melania travelled to Naples with her friends. While there, her friends introduced her to a young soldier, Salvatore Parolisi, who was spending his leave in the city away from his military unit. Their first conversation was filled with laughter and a natural ease. Salvatore quickly noticed Melania's charm and intelligence, and the two soon grew close. At first, Melania was hesitant, but she soon saw in Salvatore someone who shared her dreams of family and stability. Salvatore, a military instructor, impressed her with his professionalism and confidence, while she brought warmth and emotional depth into his life, qualities he lacked. Their relationship quickly became serious, and Salvatore's posting to Ascoli Piceno meant that Melania would face a big decision. Moving to Ascoli Piceno marked a significant new chapter in Melania's life. She left her family home behind, putting physical distance between herself and her parents and brother, who had always been her greatest support. It was a difficult transition, but Melania was hopeful about the future she and Salvatore were building together. The couple married, and not long after, Melania became pregnant. Although Salvatore appeared to be a devoted husband, his military career demanded frequent travel and long hours away from home. As her pregnancy progressed, Melania decided to return to her parents' home in Somma Vesuviana for the final months. She didn't want to face the challenges of pregnancy alone and sought the comfort of having her family by her side. In 2009, Melania and Salvatore welcomed their daughter, Vittoria. The baby's name was chosen to honor Melania's mother. In the hospital, Melania was surrounded by her family, everyone except her husband. When Salvatore finally arrived, he seemed distracted, almost distant. He didn't even bring Melania flowers, something she quietly noticed. However, her joy at the birth of their child was so overwhelming that she quickly brushed it aside. After the birth, Melania returned home and fully embraced her role as a mother and wife. She poured all her love and energy into raising Vittoria and supporting her family. Despite her dedication, Melania sometimes felt isolated. Being far from her hometown of Somma Vesuviana and her close-knit circle of friends and family made her feel lonely at times. Salvatore's frequent absences, due to his military career, left Melania to manage the household and parenting responsibilities on her own. While she did her best to keep everything running smoothly, the emotional toll of being alone for long stretches began to weigh on her. Despite feeling lonely at times, Melania always tried to stay optimistic. It was April 2011, and the family was in Colli San Marco, a location about 20 minutes by car from Ascoli Piceno. At approximately 3:45 p.m., a man entered a small bar, commonly referred to as Bar Sega by locals. He was carrying a toddler, around 2 years old, in his arms. The man appeared visibly distressed. His attire also stood out. It was April, yet he was wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt and shorts, an unusual choice for the season. He went into the bathroom, came out, then went back in again, repeating this behaviour. The man was Salvatore Parolisi, and he explained to the people in the bar that he was looking for his wife. However, no one in the bar had seen her. Salvatore claimed that he, his wife Melania, and their young daughter Vittoria had come to spend time at a nearby playground. At one point, Melania had told him she was going to use the toilet at this very bar, but according to Salvatore, it had been over 30 minutes, and she had not returned. The bar owner's wife, Gianna, tried to calm him down, but Salvatore was in a state of panic. He kept repeating, "They've taken her. They've kidnapped her. They've killed her." Gianna found his reaction overly dramatic, considering Melania had only been gone for a short while. She suggested that perhaps Melania had run into someone she knew or had gone to a different bar. In an attempt to help, Gianna took Salvatore outside and asked if he had tried calling his wife. He said he had, multiple times, but although the phone was ringing, Melania wasn't answering. For the next hour, Gianna helped Salvatore search the area for his wife, but there was no sign of her. They eventually returned to the bar, where Gianna suggested calling the police. Initially reluctant, Salvatore locked himself in the bathroom. Gianna, determined to act, made the call herself. When prompted by the operator, she had to insist that Salvatore come out of the bathroom to speak. After some persuasion, she managed to get him to leave the restroom and relay his story to the police. Salvatore explained that he was a soldier in the 235th Training Regiment, stationed in Ascoli Piceno, and repeated the circumstances of Melania's disappearance. The operator dispatched a unit of carabinieri to the scene. Shortly after, one of Salvatore's friends arrived with his wife to take care of Vittoria, who was hungry, frightened, and crying incessantly. For the carabinieri, the entire situation seemed strange. Salvatore's behaviour, his state of panic, and his insistence that something terrible had already happened to his wife all raised questions, especially given how little time had passed since Melania's disappearance. Salvatore appeared extremely anxious, and his immediate assumption that someone had kidnapped his wife seemed unusual. Typically, when someone is missing for a short period, one first thinks they may have wandered off, met someone they knew, or simply lost track of time. Thoughts of accidents or foul play usually come much later. When questioned, Salvatore said he couldn't provide much assistance with the search because he didn't know the area well. This struck the carabinieri as odd, given that Colle San Marco is a location where military exercises, particularly by Salvatore's regiment, were regularly conducted. Moreover, Salvatore's role as a topographer, creating maps for the military, made his unfamiliarity with the area even more puzzling. Meanwhile, the wife of Salvatore's friend looked after little Vittoria. She went to the car to retrieve a bag that should have contained nappies and food for the child, as she needed to change and feed her. However, the bag was missing. Instead, the boot of the car contained a black suitcase, a military backpack, and a blanket. This raised questions since Melania was known to never leave the house without essentials for her daughter. As the hours passed, Melania's friend Sonia joined the search. Sonia also noticed that Vittoria didn't have her dummy, a water bottle, or sufficient clothing for the cool weather. Like others, she pointed out that Melania would never have left home without these items for her daughter. By evening, search efforts intensified. The carabinieri brought in a tracking dog with an excellent sense of smell. The dog was given a scent item from the car, and immediately began following a trail. It crossed the road, went past at the playground near the bar, and then lost the scent. Salvatore was subsequently taken to the local police station to file a formal missing person report. During questioning, the carabinieri asked if everything was fine between him and his wife. Salvatore insisted that their relationship was perfect and recounted the events of the day. He also mentioned that Melania had recently undergone surgery for a hernia. At 3 a.m., Salvatore returned home, where Melania's parents, her brother and Vittoria, were waiting. Melania's brother noticed that Salvatore was carrying the black suitcase from the car. The family spoke until dawn, during which Salvatore recounted the entire situation. Afterwards, everyone left, and Salvatore remained at home. Neighbours later reported hearing Salvatore doing laundry late into the night. The next day, the 19th of April, Salvatore arrived at work later than usual. He explained to colleagues that he had returned to Colle San Marco to help with the search, but the carabinieri had refused to let him participate. On the 20th of April, the carabinieri searched the apartment shared by Salvatore and Melania, but found nothing unusual. That same afternoon, the police received a call from a man who claimed to have gone for a walk in Repe di Civitella, a wooded area. The caller reported finding a woman's body near a small, closed wooden bar and hung up before providing further details. The carabinieri immediately investigated the lead. Tragically, the caller had not been lying. On the ground, they discovered the lifeless body of Melania. She had been brutally murdered and was covered in blood, with multiple stab wounds. Melania's body was found with disturbing markings. A large X was carved into her chest, the syringe near her heart, and a swastika was etched into her thigh. Near the body, investigators found various personal items, including Melania's phone. The bar near where Melania's body was discovered was known locally for its association with far-right groups, including the owner and some of its patrons. The carabinieri immediately suspect that the murderer might either be someone from the bar or a drug addict connected to Melania, or that Salvatore might be trying to mislead the investigation. Naturally, they immediately notify Salvatore about the discovery of the body and ask him to come and identify it. However, Salvatore refuses, and instead, Melania's brother arrives that same evening at Salvatore's house to discuss the discovery of the body. When describing the location where Melania's body was found, the man mentions that 2 weeks earlier he had visited the same spot with her, and they had been intimate there. What possible sense does this story make? Why share it? It's at least suspicious, but this isn't what initially raised the carabinieri's suspicions. In fact, they had started suspecting Salvatore from the very beginning, especially when he filed an official report about Melania's disappearance on the day she went missing. At the time, the carabinieri had planted a bug in Salvatore's car and phone. On April 19th, the day after Melania's disappearance, Salvatore made a call to a woman named Ludvika, who turned out to be his lover. During the call, Salvatore told her that his wife was missing and asked her to delete all the messages from him, as he wanted to keep her out of the situation. Ludvika was one of Salvatore's subordinates, and their relationship had started when he began flirting with her during military training. Not long after, the two began sleeping together. During this time, Melania, who was pregnant, was staying with her parents. However, after she gave birth and returned, Salvatore decided to rent a flat. Ludvika, Salvatore's lover, later moved to Rome, and then to the area around Rome. Despite this, the two continued their relationship whenever possible. Salvatore had a second phone that he used to contact Ludvika, frequently sending messages and calling her. He promised Ludvika that he would leave his wife for her while continuing to reassure Melania that she was the only one for him. Of course, this was a lie. After 2 years of such promises, Ludvika had enough. Salvatore had promised her that they would go to Amalfi for Easter to meet her parents. But in the end, he texted her saying that he couldn't go anywhere because he needed more time to speak with his wife. He sent Ludvika a message saying, I'm almost done with everything. I've sorted things out with her, but I promise you it's almost over, and soon we will be together. This message drove Ludwika mad, and she replied, I no longer believe you. You promised me you would come, we'd finally see each other. But now you're not coming for Easter, and I'll be here alone. She told him she was disgusted by him and accused him of making her believe in something that was a lie. It seems that Salvatore told Ludwika he couldn't leave his wife because she had recently had surgery, but Ludwika wanted to end the affair. Salvatore bombarded her with messages, and she gave him an ultimatum. After Easter, he had to go to Amalfi with her because her mother wanted to book a hotel for everyone for the occasion. She told him that if he didn't show up, it would be the end for them. The carabinieri listened in on Salvatore's conversations. On the day of the murder, Ludwika was on duty all day, and Salvatore's last conversation with her only mentioned that he wanted to leave his wife, but said nothing about planning to leave her the night before Melania's disappearance. It turns out that Salvatore had been having an affair with women from his unit for a long time, and Ludwika wasn't the first. The scene he created with Melania behind the wooden bar was fabricated, as it was freezing at the time, with snow on the ground, and Melania had recently had surgery. It seems that Melania had discovered her husband's affair again. It turns out that on the day of Melania's disappearance, they were not at the playground, as witnesses were there during the time the family should have been, but nobody saw them. Some people took pictures during that time, and none of them showed Salvatore, Melania, or their daughter. Moreover, Melania's phone did not log onto any nearby telephone towers. According to investigators, Melania was killed between 2:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on the 18th of April 2011, at the place where her body was found. She had 35 stab wounds, and shallow cuts on her hands indicated that she had tried to defend herself. She did not die immediately, but slowly bled to death over half an hour. Her trousers and underwear were down, but there were no signs of assault. Her bladder was empty, leading investigators to believe she was attacked while urinating. No DNA other than Salvatore's was found on Melania's body. Her last kiss, or the moment her mouth was covered to prevent her from screaming, left traces of his DNA. 2 days after her disappearance, on the 20th of April, someone turned on Melania's phone for 15 seconds at 7:20 a.m. It is suspected that it was Salvatore who returned to carve a cross and a sticker on her body to confuse the investigation. On the 14th of July 2011, Salvatore was arrested for murdering his wife. He maintained his innocence throughout the trial, which was held behind closed doors as it was a military case. Salvatore was eventually sentenced to 20 years in prison. During his time in prison, he worked as a switchboard operator and studied law, passing various exams, which made him a model prisoner. Salvatore was initially sentenced to 30 years in prison for the murder of his wife. Later, during his trial, his sentence was reduced to 20 years on appeal. The reduced sentence was likely influenced by factors such as his behavior in prison, his attempts at rehabilitation, and possibly a perception of diminished culpability based on his emotional state at the time of the crime. Salvatore was granted parole after serving 12 years in prison. However, following his interview on the Italian television program Chi l'ha visto in 2023, where he stated, "I betrayed Melania several times, but I didn't kill her," the judge revoked his parole. Salvatore was ordered to return to prison as it became evident he did not appreciate the opportunity granted to him. The judge hoped that, during the remainder of his sentence, without any more chances for release, he would be capable of self-reflection. At 29, Salvatore had the potential for a bright future ahead, but his actions, including infidelity, manipulation, and the final outburst of anger that ended his wife's life, left their daughter, Vittoria, without both parents. Vittoria, now 15, lives with her grandparents and has taken her mother's surname, distancing herself from her father. In his interview, He described Melania as bellissima, beautiful, and expressed regret over her death. He also mentioned his relationship with Ludovica Perrone, stating it was just a fling. The tragic case of Melania continues to highlight the devastating impact of betrayal and violence within families. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found the story intriguing. Until next time, take care and stay safe.